Alright, in this video I'm going to make some smoked salsa using tomatoes, garlic, and chilies, jalapeno and hot banana from my garden. Let's get into it. Alright, I've got some Roma tomatoes here and some chilies, some basil, onions, and garlic. I'm just going to chop them up. I'm going to cut the tomatoes in half and then lay them in this aluminum tray that I've got some slits cut in the bottom of for the smoke to penetrate through. I'm going to try to lay them out as best I can so there's room between them for air to flow and their smoke to flow to get the best smoke penetration as possible. And then once I get them all chopped up, they'll go into the smoker. And here I'm just cutting up the chilies into smaller pieces so they will blend up easy in a food processor later. I'm leaving the veins and seeds in because I want the heat. If you take the veins out, you lose the heat. And here I'm crushing this incredibly dense head of garlic and then peeling each clove, smashing it down again so it'll break up easier in the food processor. Sorry about this camera angle. I thought I had it centered, but apparently I didn't. So it's not great, but you can still see what I'm doing. And now time to chop the onion. I'm just gonna cut it up fairly small again so it'll break up easy in the food processor. I will have the weights and quantities. Basically, I'll have a basic recipe in the description if you want to try to make this yourself. And here I'm just pulling some leaves of basil off the stems to put in there. I've said it in one of my other videos, but I use basil. Sometimes I use parsley, but I usually use basil in my salsas because I am one of those weird people that cilantro tastes like soap to me, so I don't use it. And I probably would not put the basil in the smoker if I did this again. It basically smoked it and dehydrated it, so then it had to get rehydrated when it cooked, and I would have chopped it up smaller because it didn't break up very well in the food processor. But now let's get it in the smoker. Okay, so that's in the smoker now. I've got it at 180 degrees. I got it set to 180, but I put the stuff in cold. That way, as it starts to smoke, it'll still be cold. Smoke tends to adhere better to this stuff when it's cold. So I'll let it go for a couple hours and check on it. Probably shouldn't take more than 3. I'm just trying to get some good color on it, and that'll add just a slight smoke flavor to the salsa. We'll see you in a little while. Okay, so after 4 hours in the smoker, I took it out, I put it in a bowl. I'm gonna cover it with plastic wrap, put it in the fridge until tomorrow. I kept it at about 180 for about 2.5 hours, but it wasn't getting very much smoke, so I turned it up to about 200. See you tomorrow. All right. I whip this up in the food processor. I don't get it smooth. I leave it a little bit chunky, but there's no big clumps or anything. I want that garlic to get broken up pretty well. I have to do this in a few small batches because I have a small food processor. but you can see the texture here. It's kind of like restaurant style, but you can see those big basil leaves in there that didn't get broken up very well, but that's all right. It'll still taste great. Okay, now to season it up. A little bit of sea salt, and then you're going to see I'm going to add some lime juice and vinegar. We want to get the acid content up for canning it. Alright, so it's the next morning, and as you see, I just blended it up, seasoned it up. We're going to taste for seasoning, and then we're going to go simmer it, let it reduce a little bit, get it hot enough so we can can it, because it's got to be hot when it goes into the canning jars. So, let's see. Yep, that's pretty good. It's a little bit light on salt, but as some of this evaporates off and it reduces, that salt level will be just about right. So let's get it on the stove. Okay, while the salsa is heating up, I'm going to show you how I water bath can these without a water bath canner. Use a pot that's tall enough to cover the jars by at least 1 inch of water, and in the bottom of them I put some canning jar lids to keep the glass jars from sitting directly on the bottom of the pot. And then once all of the jars are in the pot, filled with water and covered with 1 inch, take it over, put it on the stove, and bring everything to a boil. And while that's coming up to a boil, I take my lids and put into very hot water, let those seals warm up, and then once it comes up to a boil, I take my clean hot jars out and begin to fill them, leaving about half an inch of headspace. Once all my jars are full, I take some vinegar and wipe the rims, being careful to check to make sure there's no chips or cracks in the rim so the lids will seal. Then I put the lids on and put the rings on and try not to burn my fingers off because that water is extremely hot in there. And you'll see here in a second I have a lid that doesn't seem to want to go on, so I toss it away and find another one, because if I have to fight it, it could not seal. There's something wrong with it. So that's why I did that. Good, now that all the lids and rings are on, just loose, finger tight. You don't want to crank them down. You got to have room for the air to escape. I put them in the water bath canner, and then I top it off to make sure I have at least 1 inch of water covering over the top of them. Then I'll put the lid onto the canner and I'll bring everything up to a boil, and I let it process for 20 minutes, and then after 20 minutes turn the heat off, take the lid off, and carefully take the jars out and set them off to cool for 24 hours. done. Now, just a final taste test. Slightly smoky. It's nice. That's sweet from the tomatoes. Garlic's there. It's nicely balanced. Heat level, it's probably about like a medium at your Mexican restaurant. Turned out great. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like, comment. I'll answer any questions you have. Subscribe if you haven't. Have a good one. Thanks. Bye.